Hey there, welcome to a quick note. Today, we're diving into a fascinating topic that shapes the landscape of American politics. Why does the US have a two-party system? It's a question that goes deep into the history and structure of American elections. So, stick around as we unravel the story behind this enduring political setup. So, in the US, we mainly have two big political groups, the Democrats and the Republicans. This has been the case for a really long time, like since the 1800s. Now, you might wonder why we don't see a bunch of different options when we vote. Well, it all started when the US was just getting started. People had some serious differences on how much power the national government should have. This, along with a voting system where the one who gets the most votes wins everything, kinda pushed us into this two-party thing. So, it's like we're stuck with the Democrats and Republicans for now. Early political factions. In laying out the framework for the government of the new United States in 1789, the Constitution made no mention of political parties. Many of the nation's founders deeply distrusted such partisan groups. Alexander Hamilton called parties the most fatal disease of popular governments, while George Washington warned in his farewell address in 1796 that political factions would lead to a frightful despotism. But even though they didn't plan for it, political groups were already popping up in the new United States. When Washington was in charge, the political big shots split into two teams, the Federalists, led by Hamilton, and the Anti-Federalists, also known as Democratic Republicans, with Thomas Jefferson at the helm. These two groups fought a lot about how much power the new federal government should have compared to the states. They also couldn't agree on whether the US should buddy up with Great Britain or France. It was a real clash of ideas back then. Sam Rosenfeld, a political science associate professor at Colgate University, points out, the idea was that you could create a government cleverly, with things like separating powers, to make decisions that benefit everyone. But that assumes everyone would agree on what's best. The reality is, people have different opinions. Emergence of the Democratic and Republican parties. In the 1800 election, Thomas Jefferson beating John Adams signaled the decline of federalism, which pretty much faded away as a political force by the end of the War of 1812. The time around James Monroe's presidency is often called the era of good feelings because there weren't many big disagreements between national parties at that time. Rosenfeld notes, for a short time, all the decision-making had this democratic vibe under the big umbrella of the Democratic-Republican Party. But don't be fooled, the disagreements didn't vanish. In fact, those same arguments about how much power the federal government should have and the balance with the states came back into play. The 1824 election was a game changer. John Quincy Adams became president even though he got fewer votes than Andrew Jackson in the regular vote. This moment led to something big. Jackson's supporters, led by Martin Van Buren, teamed up based on Jeffersonian ideas, and that's how the Democratic Party was born. In 1828 and 1832, the party really got into action, supporting Jackson in elections. These elections started to look more like what we see today, with things like campaign rallies and nominating conventions becoming a norm. At the same time, folks who didn't like what Jackson was doing teamed up to create the Whig Party. These guys were more into the Federalist way of thinking, wanting a stronger central government. However, the Whigs didn't last long and fell apart by the 1850s. Then, a new crew, the anti-slavery Republicans, showed up to go head-to-head with the Democrats. Even though their views and stances have changed a lot over time, these two parties, the Democrats and Republicans, have stuck around and been the big players in US politics since then. How the US election system favors the two-party model. To grasp why the United States has stuck with a two-party system, it's key to get how the elections work. In the US, it's not about winning most of the votes overall but winning the most votes in each specific area, like a district or a state. Also, each area, whether it's a congressional district, state, or the whole nation for the presidency, is represented by just one person, not based on the total number of votes. That setup plays a big role in keeping the two-party system in place. The idea that this winner-takes-all, single-member district system leads to a two-party setup is often described by something called Duverger's law, named after the French political scientist Maurice Duverger. According to Rosenfeld, many political scientists see Duverger's law more as a handy guideline than a strict rule. The idea is that in systems with single-member districts and plurality elections, like the US, stable two-party setups are more likely, and it's tough for third parties to gain traction. The reason behind this is people tend to be strategic in their voting. In a system where all you need is the most votes to win, voters may worry that choosing their favorite candidate could end up helping their least favorite candidate win, so they play it safe to avoid that. So, what happens is, folks usually vote for the candidate from either the Republicans or Democrats who they think has the best chance of winning. This is because, in the United States, these two parties dominate. Rosenfeld adds that the US primary process is designed to work out policy differences within each party. The goal is to end up with candidates for the general election who can appeal to a wide range of voters. Rosenfeld points out that in other places with proportional representation and multi-party systems, the conflicts within the system often lead to the creation of new parties. However, in the United States, these conflicts tend to stay within the existing parties. Due to these structural aspects and various other factors, the two-party system has stood the test of time over the past 2 centuries of American history. This endurance persists despite what public opinion polls, such as the 2022 Pew Research poll, might suggest about its popularity. Rosenfeld emphasizes the need for a serious consideration if one desires more political choices and feels discontent with the two-party system. He suggests that changing the rules of the American constitutional system, especially the electoral systems, is crucial, rather than merely hoping for a highly charismatic third candidate to emerge. And there you have it, folks. The ins and outs of why the US rocks a two-party system. If you enjoyed this quick exploration, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more insightful notes on various topics. Thanks for joining us on A Quick Note, your go-to for bite-sized insights. Until next time.